Yo, what's going on, guys? It's the Exile Joker, and Path of Exile 2 had just released their patch notes for point 5. So we went ahead and did a deep dive into what that looks like, what we can expect come May 29th. And so I just wanted to go through the patch notes. I've marked them out for each of the sections because it's a very long video. It's 2.5 hours long. So if you want to hop around, you can use the tabs down below. As always, like and subscribe, and we are going to be doing quite a bit of Twitch playthrough on trying to figure out what our start build is going to be. So looking forward to doing that. But yeah, so here's our quick rundown of what the patch notes look like, and more to come. It's looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. So, the Runes of Aldur League, okay. Endgame, everything's been kind of updated, and we're just going to jump right into it. So, Return of the Ancients expansion contains new league, overhaul to Path of Exile 2's endgame, 6 new endgame storylines, 2 new Ascendancy classes, and a huge amount of other content. As we all know, it's their biggest expansion ever, so this should be good. All right, start fresh, new economy with the Runes of Aldur League. In each area, Runes of Aldur League, you'll find a remnant, which allows you to craft an item. That's the mechanic. Depending on the rune shapes used, you'll then face an encounter with tough enemies that you will need to defeat in order to claim your item. Each additional rune shape used to craft the item will increase the number of waves of enemies, adding additional runic modifiers to the enemies with each wave. Remnants start with any number of slots between 2 and 10, with higher numbers being much rarer, but allowing you to craft much rarer items. Monsters raised by remnants can drop Verisium metal. I guess that's a new currency here. Added new NPC Pharaoh with 4 new quests in the campaign, allowing you to unlock various new crafting features. New crafting system, Verisium Rune Forging. After unlocking Verisium Rune Forging in Act 1, this system allows you to add Runic Ward to your armors by spending Verisium. Armors lower than level 55, I guess that's item level 55, gain Runic Ward with no downside. Armors above this level trade some of their regular base defenses for Runic Ward. So that's like the new resource, basically, right? So it's not mana or life or energy shield. It's going to be this Runic Ward. Added new defense, Runic Ward. This defense kicks in once you reach 1 life, allowing you to continue to survive while your Runic Ward takes damage. Runic Ward regenerates independently of your life. Okay, that's the buffer that they gave us, right? Where they were like, oh yeah, this is going to gonna save you or whatever, right? It's like your get out of jail free card, get out of death free card. Added new defense Runic Ward. Yeah, that's what I just read. 13 new alloy currency items. These are unlocked through remnant encounters after completing Pharaoh's quest in Act 2. I thought it was Pharaoh's quest in Act 1. Added new NPC Pharaoh with 4 new quests. Okay, so Pharaoh is in Act 2, not Act 1, but you unlock the Verisium reforging in Act 1. So then you get these 13 new alloy currency items, which can be unlocked through remnant encounters after completing Pharaoh's quest in Act 2. These items add various new crafted modifiers to items by replacing an existing modifier similar to perfect essences. After unlocking unique Verisium rune forging in Act 3, you can upgrade the base type of unique weapons and armors that drop at levels lower than 55. Upgraded unique weapons will have higher damage. Upgraded armors will have increased base defenses as well as runic ward, allowing them to be more competitive at higher levels. Unique armor above level 55 can still be rune forged to modify their defenses to include runic ward at the cost of reducing their other defenses similar to the base types. After unlocking unique rune forging in Act 3, upgrade the base type of unique weapons and armors. Okay, so now we're going to be able to upgrade uniques. Interesting. Unique Verisium rune forging has additional properties when used on Kalguran uniques. So it's going to have different... Interesting. Added 13 ancient runes, which can be unlocked to be crafted by remnant encounters after completing Pharaoh's quest in Act 4. All right, so Pharaoh's got quests throughout, is what it's looking like. So you've got 13 new ancient runes that are unlocked after the quest line in Act 4. Added 13 mythical early game runes. Okay, that's interesting. What are the mythical game runes? That can be crafted from remnant encounters to provide significant boosts to level 15 plus characters. This is going to be interesting here. That'll help with getting through the campaign quicker, which is good because the campaign is fucking long. I love it, but it's long. Added 3 fluxes, which can be crafted from remnants to transform the resistances on your items from one element to another. Added 3 fluxes, which can be crafted from remnants to transform resistances. Okay. 15 meta crafting runes that can be crafted from remnants. 60 runes that can be created by destroying a unique to make a rune that gains some of its properties. Oh wow, so you can destroy uniques that'll give you runes that you could put into your socketed items, and you could add in unique modifiers into socketed gear. Okay, Diablo, what you know about that? 15 runic ward runes. It's funny because a lot of people make fun of the way I say rune, and that's all they've got me saying right now. So that's kind of funny. Added 15 runic ward runes that can be crafted from remnants, adding or modifying properties related to a runic ward. Added 21 Kalguran skills that can be crafted from remnants. Animus Exchange, Animus Splinters, Bitter Dead, Conductive Runes, Detonate Living, Eternal March, Explosive Transmutation, Fragments of the Past, Frost Flame Nova, Grim Pillars, Hollow Shell, Ley Lines, Powered by Verisium, Refutation, Remnants of Kalgur, Repulsion, Runic Reprieve, Skyfall, Triskelion, Cascade, Verisium Manifestations, and Voltaic Barrier. The 21 skills. So these are, what are these skill gems? That can be crafted from remnants. Oh, these are the things that you add into your skill gems. Like they're the, like skill support gems, right? Is what I'm getting at here. Interesting. Added 8 Kalguran supports. So no, those are the skill gems. So these are 21 Kalguran skills that you can use, and then there's 8 Kalguran support, I guess would be gems or runes. I guess it's all runes, right? So 8 Kalguran supports that can be crafted from remnants. Concussive runes, First of Kalgur, Healing runes, Kalguran Conviction, Rune Forged Blades, Runic Extraction, Runic Infusion, and Scouring Flame. All right. Expedition remnants have been changed into the remnants from the Runes of Aldur League. Okay. New endgame story. Love to see that. Set out on an expedition with Faro to explore the ocean as you investigate the tombs of the fallen Kalgurans and challenge them to earn remarkable rewards. Seek out the crater of a fallen star, a meteor of pure vericium, from which you hope to forge objects of immense power, if you can defeat what awaits you there. All right. That's that boss that we saw in the video. There's now a hub area, the ruins of King's March for the ruins of Aldur, to the southeast of your starting location on the Atlas. Okay. Logbook mechanics has been changed into an ocean exploring mechanic. Using logbooks now unveils a section of the ocean with a variety of islands to explore. The logbook mechanic has been changed into an ocean exploring mechanic. Okay. Many new underground areas have been added that can be uncovered during expeditions. Kind of like Abyss, I'm assuming. So like you're going to have more underground areas that you can explore as part of the expedition. Many new islands have been added with new grand expeditions, previously known as logbooks. Oh, this is the expedition quest line. I got it. Medved, Vorana, and Uhtred join Olroth as the fourth faction leaders available to fight on new islands that you can discover in the ocean. All right, 4 new faction leaders. Defeating Olroth will give you a key that you can use to access the new pinnacle boss for the Runes of Aldur. The new Runes of Aldur Challenge League includes the first set of challenges in Path of Exile 2. Earn pieces of the Knight of Aldur armor set when you complete 2, 4, 6, and 8 challenges in Runes of Aldur. Okay, so you get a new Runes of Aldur Challenge League includes the first set of challenges in Path of Exile 2. First set of challenges. So you earn pieces of the Knight of Aldur armor set. So that we're adding sets to the game. You complete 2, 4, 6, and 8 challenges in Runes of Aldur. These challenge rewards are only obtainable in this league. Okay. From the first challenge onwards, and for every challenge after that, you will receive pieces of the Runes of Aldur totem decoration to display in your hideout. The totem pole permanently showcases how many of the Runes of Aldur challenges you completed during the league. All of your old characters from early access launch are still present, but a free passive tree refund has been granted due to the changes. We would highly encourage you to join the new leagues to fully take in their changes we've made with the 0.5 update, obviously. 0.5, there are standard, hardcore, and solo self-found variations of the Runes of Aldur Challenge League. They have the same core mechanics and items, and you can create private league versions of these leagues. Hardcore variations of the Runes of Aldur are parented to the standard Runes of Aldur equivalent, meaning if you die in hardcore Runes of Aldur, you can continue on in the standard. Okay, yeah. Return to Endgame. The atlas now has fixed points of interest at specific locations, giving you distinct objectives that are easy to find. So this is like how they're going to progress you through and pick your league mechanics that you want to follow. All league mechanics on the atlas now have quests that introduce the mechanic and guide you through its various stages up to the pinnacle boss. Perfect. All pinnacle bosses now have quest versions that can be accessed deterministically alongside repeatable non-quest versions that offer a greater challenge. Pinnacle bosses now have quest versions that can be accessed deterministically alongside repeatable non-quest versions. Okay. Added 30 new endgame map areas. That seems like a lot, right? That seems like a lot. Origins of Divinity, the Endgame Overhaul. Interesting. New endgame storyline. The Cataclysm of the Beast has invoked an ancient protocol designed to scour for and purge corruption, should it ever take hold to this degree. Traverse the Atlas to enter the fortress and activate the gates. Obtain the keys to reach the ancient precursor weapons and disarm them. The Cataclysm of the Beast has invoked an ancient protocol. Traverse the Atlas and enter the fortress to activate the gates. Obtain the keys to reach the ancient precursor weapons and disarm them. Okay. On completion of your first tower, a fortress will rise from the earth. Oh, this is right. Yeah. Okay. Maps inside the fortress grant one or more passive points for the Atlas passive tree. This entirely replaces the previous method of gaining Atlas points. Okay. The Atlas tree has been significantly expanded with over 300 nodes. After completing all the maps inside the fortress, you will gain enough passive points to fully allocate the Atlas tree. As the entire Atlas tree can be fully allocated, there is no need to allow respeculation for it anymore. Multi-choice nodes on the tree can be changed between options at any time. Okay. Many maps in the fortress have ancient modifiers that add or modify the contents of the map. Any map with modifiers that add secondary content to a map also implicitly add that content to the map as well. Okay. Added 40 ancient modifiers that have a chance to appear on any map outside the fortress. Added 3 gateway maps with 2 new bosses that can be used to access different sections of the fortress. New precursor tower maps have been added outside of the fortress. The Burning Monolith, along with Arbiter of Ash, has been moved into the fortress. Quest versions of the Crisis Fragments have been added to 2 Enigma chambers inside the fortress. Added 2 new Citadel maps with 2 new bosses that drop keys to the new Pinnacle boss. Added Arbiter of Divinity Pinnacle boss. And maps in the fortress can be alternatively completed by killing the Arbiter of Divinity 5 times to complete different sections of the fortress automatically in order to gain Atlas tree points. You can bypass it by killing this Arbiter of Divinity 5 times. Okay. Masters of the Atlas. Alongside the Atlas tree, a new system called Masters of the Atlas introduces Ascendancy style progression for the endgame. Players can align with different masters such as Jado of the Order of the Jinn or the Monster Hunter Hilda, each offering unique asymmetric bonuses that can be swapped between maps at will, enabling build-defining bonuses. So there's a new, alongside the Atlas tree. Is this that other like big Atlas tree that they've given us where you can like fill in the whole entire thing? Players can align with different masters, each offering unique asymmetric bonuses that can be swapped between maps. At will, enabling build-defining bonuses. Each master has 12 nodes, of which 4 can be selected at the same time. You can change your selection at any time. All 3 masters can be allocated at the same time with quick select buttons to change between each master before you run a map. Oh, wow. So you can select one of these. These are like add-ons to your builds, basically, and you can pick and choose before you enter into the map which one you want to use. All 3 masters can be allocated at the same time with a quick select button to change between. So you can't use all 3, obviously. Unlock each row of 3 nodes by performing missions for the masters. New Atlas Master Doriani's Science questline is unlocked by clearing a corruption nexus. New Atlas Master Hilda's Hunting questline is unlocked by visiting Hilda's campsite slightly southwest of your starting location on the Atlas. A new Atlas Master Jado's Spycraft questline is unlocked by completing an anomaly map near the starting location. Okay, Masters of the Atlas. I actually really like this. This is going to be fun here to do. Delirium. New storyline. So these are the different storylines that they're giving us to progress us through the different endgame mechanics, right? And which ones we can pick, I guess. New storyline, an ancient trickster god has been unleashed, spreading madness across Ray class. Do you dare to uncover his origins and confront your darkest fears? Do you dare? There is now a hub area, the Withered Willow. For Delirium to the southwest of your starting location on the Atlas, the maps around this location all contain Deliriums and give you points for the Delirium Atlas passive tree. The Delirium Atlas passive tree has been completely revamped, with many new nodes and existing node changes. After breaking a Delirium mirror, there is now a progress bar showing how deep you are in the fog and how long you have until the fog clears. This is game-changing for me because I had never understood like which way I was supposed to go, or if I was getting further from the fog or closer to the fog. This makes this mechanic a lot more visually acceptable to me. After breaking a Delirium mirror, there is now a progress bar showing how deep you are in the fog, how long you have until the fog clears. The start of the Delirium bar represents your initial location at the Delirium mirror. The end of the Delirium bar represents the location of the map boss. There are now a set of new Delirium encounters that can be seen on the Delirium bar. Reaching certain depths will cause colored mirror shards to appear. Walking into the mirror shards will break them, activating the new encounters. The direction of the map boss can be observed by looking at the fog effect. Moving in the direction of the fog will always lead you to the map boss. Okay, yeah, right. We knew that. Know how that worked before. Map bosses in Delirium will always be 100% delirious. The damage and life bonus given to monsters from Delirium has been reduced. Added 5 new elite Delirium monsters. Added a new sub-area, Loathsome Mire. The Loathsome Mire drops 2 new amulet-based types that grant 2 instilled notables at the cost of either -1 suffix or -1 prefix. Oh, that's right. We talked about these amulets. Liquid emotions can now be used to craft additional mods on jewels. So that's right. They're going to be added to the crafting sphere. These work similarly to greater essences, each having a set of specific mods that will replace a random existing mod on the item. So a set of specific mods that will replace a random mod, okay? Completing Delirium mirrors now has the chance to spawn grand mirrors on the Atlas on a nearby map. Grand mirrors create a duplicate of the map boss in the affected map. Killing both map bosses will unlock a new Atlas mechanic, the Trial of Madness. After triggering the Trial of Madness, fog will spread from a map of your choosing on the Atlas, including a locked simulacrum. While inside the fog, the entire map is delirious, starting at 10%. Killing rare monsters and the map boss increases the deliriousness of all maps in the fog. After reaching 100%, the simulacrum will become available. Deliriousness can continue to be increased up to 200% delirious. Rare and unique monsters in Delirious maps have a set of new Delirious modifiers, giving them strange new abilities. Map bosses of Delirious maps can additionally drop a new set of potent emotions that can be used to craft new powerful modifiers on jewels that are not available in the normal jewel mod pool. These emotions can also be used to instill a set of 16 new passive tree notables that are not normally available on the passive tree. Let's read that again. Map bosses of Delirious maps can additionally drop a new set of 3 potent emotions that can be used to craft new powerful modifiers on jewels. So the bosses give you different types of these different potent emotions, and you can now use them on these jewels that will give you more powerful and it instills, these emotions can be used to instill a set of 16 new passive tree notables. So you can add these passive tree notes on to your passive tree. Interesting. Simulacrum has been updated and is now a 7-wave encounter. Not really familiar with this mechanic, I guess. I don't know. It sounds good. I mean, I don't fucking know. It sounds great, but it sounds pretty involved, right? Simulacrum has been updated. Completing a Simulacrum will now give you a key to face the new Delirium Pinnacle boss. There's a new set of 10 ancient emotions that can drop if unlocked by the Atlas tree, which can be used to craft time lost jewels. There are also 3 ancient potent emotions that can be used to craft new powerful modifiers on time slot jewels that are not normally available in the mod pool. Okay, holy shit. Some new amulet Delirium uniques now drop with the Raven Touched modifier, allowing them to be instilled. Interesting. Breach. This is my favorite one here. New Breach storyline. Travel to the monastery of the Keepers, the hallowed halls of the Keepers of the Flame, and discover the Genesis tree stolen from the enemy and gifted to the Keepers by the Dreamer himself. For more information, see the link here. There's a new hub area, the Monastery of the Keepers, to the south of your starting location on the Atlas. The maps around this location all contain breach encounters. Completing these maps gives you points for the Breach Atlas tree. The Breach Atlas passive tree has been completely revamped with many new nodes and existing node changes. Starting a breach now shows a progress bar that indicates how long you have until the breach will close, as well as how much time killing monsters is extending the life of the breach. Perfect. I needed that. Reaching 100% on this bar will begin a new mechanic, a stabilized breach. A stabilized breach will spawn new challenges at its starting point. Added new boss to stabilized breach run, Marshal of Zest. Added new crafting system, the Genesis tree. I mean, is that really I guess, is that new? Or was that in PoE 1? I can't remember now if it was in I think it was in PoE 1, the Genesis tree. The Genesis tree allows consuming of womb gifts and hive blood to create rings, amulets, belts, and currency. Nodes on the Genesis tree can be allocated to affect what items will be crafted. New nodes are unlocked by using womb gifts. Yeah, this must have been in PoE 1 because I played this one before, and I thought that it was in PoE 2, but I guess it was the PoE 1 league that we were playing. New nodes are unlocked by using womb gifts. Added 6 new ring-based types that can be exclusively crafted from the Genesis tree. Added 4 new amulet types that can be exclusively crafted from the tree. New belt types, 4 new belt types that can be exclusively crafted. Added a new set of caster and minion mods that can be crafted onto rings and belts using the tree. Catalysts can no longer drop from monsters. They are now solely obtained from Genesis tree. Added a new set of 12 catalysts that can be added to that can add new quality modifiers to jewels. Okay, so they really want us messing with the jewels now. Killing monsters in a breach now drops hive blood and womb gifts, breach stone splinters. Breachstone splinters turn into a special womb gift fully stacked. This can be turned in at the Genesis tree to create a breachstone. The new breach domains now spawn on the Atlas. Using a breachstone will reveal the maps inside the domain, allowing you to enter them. Okay. So you get breachstone splinters turn into a special womb gift when fully stacked. This can be turned in at the Genesis tree to create a breach stone. So you get a stack of splinters, you create a stone, new breach domains now spawn on the Atlas. So you're going to see the breach domain on your Atlas. Using a breach stone will reveal the maps inside of this domain. So you must collect all those splinters, then make a stone, then use the stone to show the breach maps. Maps inside the breach domain contain a new encounter: breach hives, sky hives, and sky fortresses. Breach hives have a series of walls that can be burned by walking through them. Each wall destroyed will increase the number of monsters in the encounter, which can then be started in the center. Sky hives are a new area in which the breach lords have constructed fortresses you will need to assail. Sky hives contain a challenging multi-wave encounter in which you will need to defend Iolith. While she closes the domain, Iolith will gain a series of abilities that can be triggered during the encounter with various effects. Fortresses are a new area with a new pair of bosses, Toll and Esh. Defeating Toll and Esh will give you a key to access the existing Breach Pinnacle boss. So this was added in PoE 1. Loved it. Thought it was great. Happy to see it coming over to PoE 2. Perfect. Ritual. New storyline. A Waffy lingers as a restless spirit bound to the wildwood and searching for one who might answer her call. The King of the Mist has claimed her flesh, leaving her soul adrift, untethered and unable to pass beyond. She believes that only by reclaiming what was taken can she be made whole once more. Find out at the link provided on their website. There's a new hub area, Care Tarth, to the west of your starting location on the Atlas. Maps around this location all contain ritual encounters. Completing these maps gives you points for the Ritual Atlas tree. The Ritual Atlas passive tree has been completely revamped with many new nodes and existing nodes changed. After completing a ritual altar encounter in a map, Locusts will point you the way to the next altar. This is good. It's kind of like their lab mechanic where you're like clicking on those crystals. At least they show you where to go, so that's good. All items in the endgame ritual reward screen are now either uniques or omens. Interesting. All items in the endgame ritual reward screen are now either uniques or omens. Any tribute not spent on rewards can now be sacrificed to gain an audience with the king. So instead of splinters or the wood pieces, now you're going to sacrifice your tribute to gain audience with the king. Killing the king in the mist now drops a new key, the head of the king. This key can be used in Sarteth, to begin the Rite of the Nameless. The Rite of the Nameless is a new Atlas mechanic in which you choose a series of 5 maps to complete a single continuous ritual. The monsters from each ritual, including the map boss, will reappear in each map in the sequence, making for a very challenging encounter. The unique bosses from each map will only appear in the final ritual of each map. While choosing maps for the Rite of the Nameless, each map after the first will contain extra modifiers which affect the difficulty and rewards of the rituals during the rite. Each map in the Rite of the Nameless awards one element of the key used to access the ritual pinnacle boss. Added new boss, the Queen of the Mist, available after allocating a specific node on the Atlas tree. This boss can drop 3 new corrupted idols. Freythorn's rituals are now prevented from ever showing deferred items, to ensure items are not lost if returning to this area on a higher level character. Okay. So this is fucking cool. So now they've totally upgraded this, in my opinion, because you're doing a lot of these like rituals, especially like early on, and it's pretty fucking trash in there. I mean, like the items anyway, and you had to go and collect all these splinters. Now it looks like you just give them your tribute that you're getting anyway from completing the ritual. You donate it to this audience with the king. Then you kill the King of the Mist, which then drops a new key, the head of the king. And then you use the key to begin the Rite of the Nameless, which is a 5-series map where everything that you kill then comes back again, and you have to kill it again. And as you progress through the maps, each map gets harder, and each map gets additional modifiers. And each time you do it, you get better shit in their, ritual mechanic, right? So like every time you open it up, you get a new, different reward screen. Dope. This sounds way better. And then I do like the fact that once you get to a specific point on the tree, the ritual tree, then you open up another boss, this Queen of the Mists, and she drops these corrupted idols. I'm not sure what these are yet, but we'll have to see. Okay, Fate of the Vaal moving to core. I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't really enjoy this mechanic. Not really my cup of tea. Just not. It's too long of a mechanic, I feel like, and it takes you outside of the map, especially like during the campaign. Maybe if you're just doing this in the end game, fine, but it's a very long map mechanic. Fate of the Vaal has been added to the core game. Your first encounter is a series of 6 ancient beacons in Act 3. Energize them to obtain energized crystals and open a portal to the Vaal ruins. You'll encounter a second set of 6 ancient beacons in the interludes. There is now an Atlas passive tree for the Fate of the Vaal League mechanic. At Ziri's Temple can now be found on the Atlas to the northeast of your starting location in the city of Lyra Vaal. Maps inside the city of Lyra Vaal always have energized crystals and grant points for the Fate of the Vaal Atlas passive tree. The Fate of the Vaal. Okay, yeah. There are also new template precursor tablets that will guarantee Vaal beacons in your map. If you want to focus on this league, it is no longer possible to prevent a room being deleted from the temple. Rooms that must be deleted but have other connections will be turned into simple path rooms. This prevents the snake strategy. The number of rooms in the temple when first starting has increased to allow getting to Eziri more quickly. Rooms can now be upgraded to tier 4 after unlocking this ability on the Temple Atlas tree. This allows more specialization into particular rooms and encourages more interesting temple layouts. Okay. Reward rooms granted from the console after defeating the architect have been significantly improved. The more varieties to unlock in addition to upgrading the rewards of all the existing ones. Restricted rooms in Eziri's temple that are accessible will always destabilize upon exiting the temple. Eziri's temple medallions now have their drop rate scaled with the number of paths in the temple, in addition to other rooms. Room-based medallions can no longer be used inside of an active temple. Room-based medallions now display upgrade information when hovered. Medallions now output descriptive error messages when they cannot be placed. Room-based medallions can no longer be used inside of an active temple. Medallions now display upgrade information when hovered, and medallions now output descriptive error messages when they cannot be placed. The default maximum number of energized crystals you can store has been increased to 60. And the maximum number of medallions has been increased to 6. Medallions that increase the number of stored energized crystals or medallions are no longer necessary. The monster level of the temple now factors in the level of the areas where the crystals used to open it were obtained, and the corruption chamber temple bonuses have been updated to add monster modifiers chance instead of additional monster modifiers. Modifier chance. Portals created in the Temple of Eziri now create a corresponding portal in the parent Vaal ruins for ease of access. Vaal beacons now show a grayed out icon on the minimap when completed. There are now 4 types of infusers. Existing Vaal infusers are now Vaal Armorer's infusers, which can be applied to armor. Vaal Blacksmith's infusers can be applied to martial weapons, while Vaal Arcanist infusers can be applied to wands, staves, and scepters. Vaal catalyzing infusers can be applied to jewelry. All infusers can be applied or can be used on items at or above 20% quality. Oh, they can only be used. Interesting. Fate of the Vaal currency items now have a maximum stack size of 5,000. When stored in wildcard slots in the currency stash tab. Okay, that's good. Some of the possible outcomes from applying to Vaal cultivation orbs to unique items have been updated. So the Eziri's rule unique staff can now roll 10 to 20% increased life cost efficiency, previously 20 to 40. That is a debuff. The Ezomyte Splendor unique body armor can now roll plus 66 to 100 maximum energy shield. Okay. The Covenant unique body armor can now roll 10 to 25% increased life cost efficiency. So they brought it all down. The Hate Forge unique gloves can now roll 16 to 30 maximum range if you've used a skill that requires glory in the past 20 seconds, previously 8 to 12 maximum range per skill that requires glory used in the past 6 seconds up to 5 times. The Wrathpith Globe unique focus can now roll 8 to 15% increased life cost efficiency, previously 12 to 20%. The Shackles of the Wretched unique gloves can no longer roll elemental ailments other than freeze you inflict at reflected to you. Instead of now being able to roll 10 to 15% increased damage per curse on you. That is a lot to say. The Vertex unique helmet can no longer roll 2 to 4 level of all skills gems. Instead, now being able to roll 3 to 5. Wow. To level of all curse skill gems. Okay. So it's only curse, no longer all skill, and they've increased the number here. Abyss. Another good mechanic that destroys computers, but always a lot of fun, right? There are now large abyss cracks on the Atlas. Completing the Atlas abysses will close them and always give you an abyssal depths with a boss fight. All right, so now they always give you an abyssal depths. The Abyss Atlas tree has been revamped with many new nodes and changes to existing nodes. Coolmax invitation is now always allocated to the map owner. Abyss omens no longer drop in areas below level 65. Modifiers to the number of chests found now apply to chests found in Abyss. And these also apply to the chance to find an abyssal depths. So the chance to find an abyssal depths does not decrease with more chests in the area. Okay. Adjusted the damage of the Meteoric Demise Abyss Monster modifier and Lithomantic Runes from the Lithomantic Runes Abyss Monster modifier are now active after a longer delay. Expedition League has been temporarily disabled on standard leagues due to the integration with the Runes of Aldur. This will be reintegrated into standard after the Runes of Aldur is over. So this is because that's part of the new mechanic. The Recombinator has been disabled. The Omen of Recombination has been removed. Existing Omens of Recombination will be deleted upon logging in. The Forgotten by Time Expedition Precursor Tablet has been temporarily disabled from dropping. Expedition explosives now wait to explode until most of the monsters unearthed by the previous explosive have been killed. That's huge. That's huge. You can now use currency from your stash to purchase items from expedition vendors. You can now use currency from your stash. Okay, so you don't need to carry it. Good. Other endgame changes. With the introduction of the new endgame storyline, the Atlas has been reset. Your existing tablets and waystones will continue to work so you can continue your progression as normal, but in order to gain points for the Atlas tree, you will need to do the Origins of the Divinity storyline. Added support for searching to the endgame Atlas map. You can now zoom out slightly further on the Atlas screen. There are now 2 versions of each Pinnacle boss, the Quest version and the Infinity Farm version. As such, primary, secondary, and territory calamity fragments can no longer be obtained. Tablets of the same type may now be used together to increase the amount of the league content that is spawned. The specifics of this are different for each content type. In some cases, adding multiple tablets will increase the size of a single encounter, while in other cases, it will increase the number of encounters spawned. Okay. Each empty tablet slot now contributes to the amount of random non-tablet spawned league content in the area. This means that if all tablet slots are full, you will only see the league content from the tablets you are using. The intent of this change is to make sure that you do not need to complete the Atlas trees for leagues you do not intend to run. Okay. Each empty tablet slot now contributes to the amount of a random non-tablet spawn league content in the area. Got it. Waystones must now be identified in order to activate them in the map device. Wasn't that always a thing? I thought you had to have them identified. You can now use Orbs of Chance on tablets. Some items and content now require you to specialize in them through Atlas passive skills, including exceptional items, fracturing orbs, basic and overseer precursor tablets. Now require specialize them through the Atlas passive skills. Okay. Tablets can no longer be used on maps that cannot have extra content, such as unique maps. League-specific tablets no longer drop from non-map areas such as Simulacrum, Abyssal Depths, or the Twisted Domain. Lowered the base chances of essences as Miri Spirits, Shrines, Strongboxes, Summoning Circles, and Rogue Exiles appearing in maps somewhat due to the much larger increase now available on the Atlas tree. Atlas passes that reference maps with powerful map bosses now work with Overseer precursor tablets and other sources of powerful map bosses. That's good. Adjusted the values of general precursor tablet modifiers to be similar to the same type bonuses granted by Waystone modifiers. Also reduced the roll variance of these modifiers. The following modifiers can no longer roll on Waystones: Barons, Beastlies, Brambled, Dorianis, and Enervating, Feridian, Hallowed, of Nemesis, Perennials, Rusted, and Sacrificial. Whether a map modifier is a suffix or a prefix has been adjusted so that generally prefixes are modifiers that affect a monster's output toward the player, and suffixes are modifiers that affect the player or the monster's defenses. Good to know. The following suffix modifiers are now prefixes: of destruction, of fleeting, of impact, of penetration, of puncturing, of shattering, of splitting, and of venom. The following prefix modifiers are now suffixes: buffering, enduring, enfeebling, eroding, evasive, flaming, hex-warded, shocking, sleet, and slowing. The overpowering Waystone modifier no longer causes monsters to have increased freeze buildup, shock chance, or inflict increased flammability magnitude. It now causes monsters to have increased elemental ailment application. Waystone modifier bonuses have been updated. They now provide monster effectiveness, pack size, item rarity, monster rarity, or Waystone drop chance, depending on the modifier. These modifiers are multiplicative with other sources such as those found on the Atlas passive tree. Modifiers to pack size now also provide a chance for an additional rare monster to appear in rare monster packs. Monster rarity is a new stat available that affects the chances of magic and rare monsters and the chance for additional modifiers on rare monsters. Okay. Map modifiers that included sources of increased number of rare monsters or increased number of magic monsters have been updated to only display at the header of the map and not also be displayed amongst the explicit modifiers. This is not a functional change. Halved the bonuses to quantity of an item dropped and experience gain provided by increased monster effectiveness, such as from Etziri's Temple. The functionality of the Omen of Chaotic Rarity, Omen of Chaotic Quantity, and Omen of Chaotic Monsters have been inverted. Instead of guaranteeing the new modifiers are of their type. They instead prevent the modifiers from being of their type. Okay. Added the new Omen of Chaotic Effectiveness. While this item is active in your inventory, your next Chaos Orb will replace all modifiers on a Waystone with modifiers that do not grant monster effectiveness. Oh, this is going to be good. Up to 3 of the above omens may be used simultaneously. Have the damage as extra buffs granted from the following shrines: Freezing Shrine, Gloom Shrine, Meteoric Shrine, and Tempest Shrine. Damn, that sucks. That sucks, right? Like, we kind of like those. Kind of like the shrines, but whatever. Where was I? Completion of fixed locations on the Atlas is now shared with party members. With the addition of more varied content on the Atlas map, the size of content indicators has been increased 50%. Waystones have received new 2D art. T2D. Whoop. All right. Campaign replayability. To improve how long it takes for experienced players to replay through the game in each new league, we've added elements to multiple campaign areas that will tell you where to go, if you know where to look. You can see some examples in these videos, which we have shared here, so you can just go check those out down there. Some areas throughout the game that have been shortened. I'm going to need a little bit more information. Removed the second Dreadnought area, the Dreadnought Vanguard. The Act 2 boss is now in the Dreadnought. What? Area order in Act 3 has been somewhat rearranged in order to make progression smoother. Oh, right. That's how they moved the jungle map piece. Waterway levers have been turned into pressure pads that you simply need to walk over, and the final part of the level has the water pre-drained. I mean, okay. That's not that much time. I guess it's important for speedrunners, right? But, I mean, whatever. Monster density in the second half of the campaign has been reduced, especially in the interludes, to allow getting through these areas more quickly. Thank God. Player changes. Oh, man. This is long. Bleed damage on player is no longer increased while the player is moving. This change does not affect bleeds players apply to monsters. Your maximum runic ward is now added to your starting honor when beginning a trial of Sekmas. The defenses keyword is no longer in use. Existing uses of the word defenses now explicitly refer to armor, evasion, and energy shield. Good. To make it more clear that these modifiers do not apply to runic ward resistances, block, or other forms of protection. This is purely a description change. Only a single leech instance per resource, life, mana, and energy shield can apply at a time. When multiple leech instances are active, only the one with the highest recovery rate will recover you until it expires, after which the next highest recovery rate instance will apply. There is now a limit on the maximum amount of damage a hit can be considered to deal for leech. Hits that deal less than 40,000 total damage are unaffected, but if a hit would deal more than 40,000 total damage, it is treated as dealing only 40,000 damage for purposes of leech calculation. The values of each damage type in the hit are scaled down evenly to reach this limit. This means that extremely high damage hits stop improving leech past a certain point, but increasing your leech percentage will always increase the amount of the resource you are gaining. That seems like a fair change. I mean, that seems like a fair change. the formula for chance to deflect has been adjusted to provide better scaling with investment into deflection rating. With a cap of 95% chance to deflect, similar chance to evade being capped at 95, also fair. The new chance to deflect is 150 times 1 minus A divided by, yeah, we got it. Attack, accuracy rating, defender deflection rating. This makes for a linear path that gets rewarded at higher investments. Okay. Parry, shield block, and resonating shield no longer delay heavy stun buildup from decaying longer than expected. Melee attacks can now only apply splash damage once per damaging area. Some attacks create multiple damaging areas during use. For example, Whirling Assault creates multiple damaging areas around you as you move. When minions are removed due to resources changing, such as weapon swapping, younger, newer minions are now prioritized for removal over older minions to avoid wasting minion cooldown abilities unnecessarily. Okay, so when minions are removed due to resources changing, younger, newer minions are now prioritized for removal over older minions to avoid cooldown. Oh, okay, I got it. Minions affected by Last Gasp support or Tekrod's Revenge lineage support, and totems affected by the unnamed Heartwood Oracle notable passive skill can no longer die during the effect from taking further damage exceeding their maximum life. Stats worded as when you collect a remnant no longer give you the benefits of these stats when an ally shares the effects of a remnant with you. Updated the name of the buff that Trinity grants to Affinity, as Resonance is the name of the Keystone passive skill. This is purely a description change. Archon buffs are no longer inherently lost when you attack. This is now property of Elemental Archon specifically. New content and features. Introduce the new Martial Artist Ascendancy class for the Monk. After decades of training, the martial artist has become a master of illusions. Empowered by the runes socketed into his body, this class creates powerful illusions, summons illusory bells to aid him, and excels at using his hands as weapons. Introduced the new Spirit Walker Ascendancy, which is what I believe we all will be playing. Class for the Huntress, bound to the wilds. This class calls upon spirits to answer to her, granting different abilities aligning with the stag, owl, or bear. Through their guidance, the Spirit Walker may subdue even the most formidable beasts, binding them in spirit, or call forth a spectral companion to fight beside her. So these are all new lineage supports: Arbiter's Reach, Breach Lord's Amalgam, Cathal's Brilliance, Einard's Thunder, Esh Prowess, Hellbrim's Hide, Her Declaration, Medved's Felling, Morgan's Insight, Prototype 17, Seraph's Heart, Stern's Ferocity, Stern's Mountain, Tangmazu's Thurible, Trickster Shard, Tool's Avalanche, Uhtred's Constellation, Uhtred's Right, Varana's Siege, Vrun's Inevitability, Vrun's Aftermath. New unique item: Barrack's Grip, Barrack's Prass, Barrack's Respite, Bruce's Lead Sprinkler, Cat O'9's Tails, Decrees of Acuity, Decree of Flight, Decree of Loyalty, Duality, Eventide Petals, Eyes of Runefather, Facebreaker, Pharaoh's Gift, Forgotten Warden, Geoffrey's Sanctuary, Gatecrasher, Horseflight, Ironbound, Laminial Coil, Loreweave, Mageblood, Master Dread Domain, Nightfall, Opportunity, Redemption, Periphery, Sadist Mercy, Cyril's Gift, Spiteful Floret, Split Personality, Surge of the Tide, Sylvan's Effigy. The Auspex the Hollow Mask, the Ordained, the Raven's Flock, the Sunken Vessel, the Unleashed, Twisted Empyrean, Vestige of Darkness, Veil Piercer, and Voices. Need to wait for that. Added 8 new idols that come exclusively from monsters possessed by Asmirian spirits. Added the new Minion Splash and Minion Splash 2 strength support gems. These support skills which create minions which strike, causing these minion strikes to have melee splash. The Fragment Stash tab is now available for the use in Path of Exile 2. It can hold... It can hold your fragments, including Breach, Splinters, Simulacrums, Audience with the King, Inscribed, Ultimatums, and Arias, as well as tablets. If you previously purchased one in Path of Exile, will automatically be made available to you once in 0.5. For those without Fragment Stash tab, you will be able to find this in the Stash tab section in the Microtransaction store after 0.5 goes live. Added support for build guides, community creators. This is going to be great. Who write build guides can now create .build files for players to download when selected in the game client. These will show you everything you need to know for that build, including passive skills to allocate, which Ascendancy passive skills to take, skill gems to equip, as well as recommendations for support gems. Added the ability to quickly search the trade market with an item you have. Shift-Alt clicking on an item will populate the filters for searching the trade market so you can see the current prices. Huge! Huge! For rare items, you can enable and disable each modifier to easily determine the effect each one is having on an item price. Massive, massive, massive dub. W. So here's the thing. One of my biggest things that I remember from Diablo 2 days was the economy that was created. You know, you had SOJs or Stone of Jordan, right? Or you had like the high runes, and like each item cost a specific amount of high runes, and it would go up and down based on the league. And Diablo has failed to recreate anything like that ever again. Like, they fucked it up with the gold. Remember the gold in Diablo 3? And like everybody was farming gold and you were selling it for real money. And so for me, like ARPGs, yeah, it's a lot of like heavy grinding, it's a lot of like heavy bullshit. But one of the things that I'm always looking at getting into is like getting rich in the game, right? And it's so frustrating to have to use multiple different screens in order to figure out what something costs. And like, am I selling this for something that it should be sold for? So having this ability in game, massive dub, massive dub. Absolutely love that. And this is it. This is the game that we're going to be playing for a while. In party play, you can now quickly revive any fallen party member after defeating the boss. You can now skip dialogue sequences with NPCs by pressing escape. Added a reforging bench to the entrance of the Trial of the Suck My Ass. Continue to incrementally improve the sound, art, effects, and environments. I love good graphics, and I think the sounds in this game are really well done. This game is just, I think this is going to be a great game. I'm so looking forward to 1.0 in November, December, but truly, truly happy with what we're seeing here now. Ascendancy Changes, Acolyte of Chailua. The Into the Breach skill granted by the Walking Dream notable passive skills now grant leech 20% of your maximum life to you when collecting a red flame of Chailua. Previously 15%, and leech 20% of your maximum mana to you when collecting a blue flame of Chailua. Previously 15%. The wording of the Into the Breach skill has also been updated to clarify behavior ranges related to Flames of Chailua. Into the Breach now applies modifiers to Remnant pickup range to the range at which Flames of Chailua can be seen. This is purely a visual change. Blood Mage. The Vitality Siphon notable passive skill now grants 20% of spell damage leached as life, previously 10%. Whoa. Chronomancer. The Rapid River notable passive skill has been removed. Its position has been taken by Now and Again. The Now and Again notable passive skill has been reworked. It now grants cascadable spells have 20% chance to echo, and repeatable spells have a 20% chance to repeat. The Unbound Encore notable passive skill has taken the previous position of Now and Again. The Ultimate Command notable passive skill now requires Unbound Encore. Added the new Phased Form notable passive skill. Preceding Footprints in the Sand. Phased Form grants take 30% less damage, and 4 seconds after being damaged by an elite hit, take damage equal to 30% of that hit's damage. The Temporal Rift skill, granted by the Footprints in the Sand notable passive skill, has been updated. It now has a cast time of 0.1 second, previously 0.5, and now removes delayed damage from Phased Form. The Inevitable Agony skill, granted by the Inevitable Notable passive skill, has been reworked. It is no longer a curse and has a 2-second cooldown, and debuff is now a life loss effect instead of secondary hit damage. And the debuff amount is now displayed on the static health bars. The debuff also now instantly culls enemies when total life loss reaches Culling Strike threshold. Now grants debuffs targeted lose life equal to 25% of hit damage dealt to them while debuffed. Previously 50%. Enemy curse effectiveness no longer applies to this skill, meaning unique enemies have the same effectiveness as previously, while other enemies have less. Debuff duration is now 12 seconds, previously 6 to 8.6 seconds. Quality now grants 0.5 metries to initial cast radius. Previously, Curse Zone erupts after 0 to 10% reduced delay. The skill has also received new visual effects. I'm just going to let you know that anything that does all this, I will not be using. Like, I just, this right here is too much for me. I don't care. I didn't care when I started reading it, and I didn't care after I finished. So this is a no. But moving on. The Sands of Time buff granted by the Quicksand Hourglass notable passive skill now grants 1 to 60% increased skill speed, previously cast speed, and has also a new visual effect. Gambling Legionnaire. The Crystalline Potential notable passive skill has been removed. Added a new notable passive skill, Essence of Virtue. This grants the Virtuous Barrier skill, which, while active, conjures a glittering barrier that accumulates protective gemstones, gemstone motes of each attribute type over time, but loses a random mote when you are hit. The Advanced Thaumaturgy notable passive skill no longer grants thaumaturgical dynamism skill. Butchered that. Absolutely 100% butchered that. It instead now grants gem quality, grants socketed skills, and additional effects. All gems in the game now have an additional quality stat that can be seen while holding Alt on the gem after picking this notable. The Overwhelming Toxicity notable passive skill now grants 50% less poison duration, previously 35%. The Running Assault notable passive skill now grants 30% less movement speed penalty from using skills while moving. Witch Hunter. Obsessive Rituals now grant 50% less armor and evasion rating, previously 35%. Passive tree changes. All right. Added 19 new companion-themed passive skills to the passive tree. Added 9 new life recoup speeds passive skills to the passive tree. Added a new Archon of Undeath clusters to the Witch Sorceresses area of the passive tree. The Ancestral Bond Keystone passive skill now causes placing totems to have no cost and not require consuming charges to place. It still causes totems to reserve 75 spirit each, and now doubles totem limit instead of removing it completely. The Trusted Kinship Keystone passive skill now grants 30% more reservation efficiency of companion skills and 20% less reservation efficiency on non-companion skills. It no longer provides you have 30% less defenses, or companions have +1 to each defense for each 2 of that defense you have. Okay. The Vaal Pack Keystone passive skill now grants 50% more amount of life leached, 67% less life leech speed, cannot recover life other than from leech, and life leech effects are not removed when unreserved life is filled. It no longer provides life leech, is instant, or cannot use life flasks. Okay. The reformed barrier cluster has been removed. The warding fetish cluster has moved locations and no longer connects to a jewel socket. The storm charged and breaking point cluster no longer connects to a jewel socket. The adamant recovery notable passive skill has been replaced by fortified Aegis, which grants 100% increased armor evasion and energy shield from equipped shields. The Arcane Mixture notable passive skill now grants 10% increased cast speed if you have used a mana flask recently, instead of 25% increased energy shield recharge rate. The Bastion of the Forest notable passive skill now grants 10% faster start of energy shield recharge, previously 15%. The Casting Cascade notable passive skill now grants 6% increased cast speed for each different spell you've cast in the last 8 seconds, previously 4. The Chakra of Breathing notable passive skill now grants 20% faster start of energy recharge instead of 1% increased energy shield recharge rate per 4 dexterity. So that is just 20% faster. Can't stack it with dex. Commanding Rage notable passive skill now grants 2% increased minion attack speed per 5 rage. Previously 1% per rage. Got it. The Covalescence notable passive skill now grants 20% faster start of energy shield recharge, previously 40%, and 10% reduced energy shield recharge rate, previously 15%. The Core of the Guardian notable passive skill now grants 30% increased block chance and 20% reduced maximum energy shield, previously 100% increased armor evasion and energy shield from equipped shield. The Covering Ward notable passive skill now grants 25 energy shield when you block, previously 20% or 20, and 12% increased block chance. It no longer grants 25% increased energy shield recharge rate. Yes. The Craving Slaughter notable passive skill now provides 15 maximum rage if you've used a skill that requires glory in the past 20 seconds, previously 8 per skill that requires glory used in the past 6 seconds, up to 5 times. The Critical Overload notable passive skill now provides 15% increased critical spell damage bonus, previously 15% increased spell damage if you've dealt a critical hit recently. The Cunning Fox notable passive skill has been replaced with the Quick Fox, which grants 20% increased deflection rating while moving. The Small All attribute passives prior to the notable now grant 20% increased evasion rating while moving. The Deadly Force notable passive skill now provides 15% increased critical hit chance, previously 10%, and 15% increased damage if you've dealt a critical hit in the past 8 seconds, previously 25%. The dependable ward notable passive skill now grants 8% to chaos resistance, 12% faster start of energy shield recharge, previously 25%. The devoted protector notable passive skill now grants 10% faster start of energy shield recharge, previously 15%. The echoing pulse notable passive skill now grants echoed spells have 25% increased area of effect. It no longer grants final repeat of spells that has 30% increased area of effect, which did not function. The effervescent notable passive skill now grants 4% increased cast speed for each different spell you've cast in the last 8 seconds. The energizing Archon notable passive skill now grants 30% increased Archon duration instead of 40% increased energy shield recharge rate while affected by an Archon buff. The energized deflection notable passive skill now grants 12% faster start of energy shield recharge instead of 30% increased energy shield recharge rate. The essence infusion notable passive skill now grants 12% faster start of energy shield recharge and 12% or 12 plus 12 to intelligence, previously plus 10. It no longer grants 40% increased energy shield recharge rate. So they're really dumbing down this energy shield stuff, probably because of the runic ward stuff that they've added into the game. That would be my guess, but we'll see. The fast metabolism notable passive skill now grants 40% increased damage while leeching life. Previously, life leech effects are not removed when unreserved life is filled. Fortifying blood notable passive skill now grants 15% increase of life leech, previously 20%. The goring notable passive skill no longer grants 40% increased physical damage. It now grants 3% increased maximum life and 20% increased life amount of life leached, previously 3% reduced maximum life and 30% increased amount of life leached. The Immortal Infamy notable passive skill now grants 6% increased life recovery rate instead of 10% increased energy shield recharge rate. The Lifelong Friend and Nurturing Guardian notable passive skill have been swapped. The Mystic Stance notable passive skill now grants 12% faster start of energy shield recharge, previously 30%. So they're dumbing down a lot of these, but shields and life leech, and it's probably because of the runic word stuff. The Patient Barrier notable passive skill now grants 50% increased maximum energy shield, previously 60%. Quick Response notable passive skill now grants 10% faster start of energy shield recharge, previously 20, and 20% faster start of energy shield recharge when not on full life, previously 30%. The Rapid Recharge notable passive skill now grants 12% faster start of energy shield recharge and 12% increased energy shield recharge rate, both previously 25%. They're cutting everything in half. The Refocus notable passive skill now grants 20% increased mana regeneration rate while stationary instead of 30% increased energy shield recharge rate. The Shatter Palm notable passive skill now provides 20% increased critical damage bonus, previously 10% chance to daze. So this provides increased critical damage bonus, and it used to do 10% chance to daze. That sounds better to me. The Shimmering notable passive skill now grants 10% faster start of energy shield recharge and 20% increased evasion if you have been hit recently. It no longer grants 20% increased recharge and if you haven't been hit recently. The Staggering Palm notable passive skill now provides 25% increased physical damage, previously 20%, and now provides 10% chance to daze instead of 20% increased critical damage bonus. Those things seem to have swapped. The Storm Charge notable passive skill now provides damage penetrates 8% of enemy elemental resistances and 5% increased attack and cast speed with elemental skills. It no longer provides 15% increased critical hit chance or 40% increased elemental damage if you've dealt a critical hit recently. The Tempered Mind notable passive skill now provides 15% increased effect of fully broken armor, previously 20% increased critical damage bonus. The Voracious notable passive skill no longer grants 20% of life leech. It is instant. It now grants 15% increased attack speed while leeching. The Wide Barrier notable passive skill now grants 30% increased block chance and 20% reduced armor, previously 25% reduced defenses. The Werven's Breath notable passive skill has been updated and now provides 40% increased elemental ailment application. If you have shapeshifted to an animal form recently, this now also applies to freeze buildup, but it is otherwise identical. The first two small spell passive skills at the starting area of the passive tree for the Witch and Sorceress now provide 10% increased damage, increased spell damage, previously 8%. The small passive skills that grant faster start of energy shield recharge now have values of 6%, previously 15%. Small passive skills that granted energy shield recharge rate have been removed from the passive skill tree and replaced by faster start of energy shield recharge at a lower value. The small banner area of effect passive skills now provide 12% increased banner area of effect, previously 15%. The small banner area tactician passive skill now provides 16% increased banner area of effect, previously 20%. The unsavored feast timeless jewel notable no longer grants 20% instant leech if you have at least 20 or 200 tribute. It now grants leech life 35% faster if you have at least 100 tribute, previously 25%. Woo! Skill changes. Skills with a fixed number of projectiles, such as Glacial Lance, can now benefit from effects that cause projectile count modifiers to apply to something else instead, such as Ricochet 3 support. Skills which have a cost of 0 mana now display this cost. This allows players to distinguish between skills like default attacks, which do not have a cost at all and are thus unaffected by any plus cost modifiers, from those which do not have, or from those which do have a base cost, but with 0 base value, which are affected by all plus cost modifiers, even if they add different resource costs, like adding life cost to a skill with base mana cost 0. I don't care, right? Like, I don't care. Crossbow ammunition skills now have a base cost of 0 rather than having their cost completely disabled, meaning that effects that add additional costs will now apply to them. Ignites inflicted on targets by oil ground that has been ignited can no longer compound and cannot be compounded with by other ignites from the same skill use. All command skills now have a 50% movement speed penalty during skill use, previously 70%. That's nice. Align Fate, granted by the Oracle's Fateful Vision notable passive, now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate, also apply to Visage appearance frequency. Ancestral Warrior Totem no longer has a hidden 0.6 second delay between skill uses. Instead, this delay is now 50% of the skill's attack time and is described accordingly on the skill. Bone Storm no longer has a sustained tag. Bone Shatter quality now grants 0 to 20% increased attack speed, previously 0 to 30% increased attack speed. Comet now deals 212 to 318. Cold damage at gem level 11, previously 223 to 335, scaling up to 787 to 1181 damage at gem level 20, previously 829 to 1243. Fire Infused Comet now deals 212 to 318 fire and cold damage at gem level 11, previously 279 to 418. Scaling to 787 to 1181, fire and cold damage at gem level 20, previously 1036 to 1554. So, Calling of the Week now can't be evaded, now deals 109 to 281% of attack damage at gem levels 3 to 20, previously 60%, 150 to 156%. Attack speed is now 75% of base, previously 60%, and it now has a mana cost of 8 to 42 at gem levels 3 to 20, previously 9 to 46. The maximum dash range has been increased by 15%. Defiance Banner, Dread Banner, and War Banner no longer have a movement speed penalty during use. Now have a banner aura radius of 6 meters, previously 4.5. Earthquake Aftershock now deals 184 to 666% of attack damage at gem levels 1 through 20, previously 160 to 580%. Eternal Rage can no longer be activated in specific weapon sets. It is now required to be active in both weapon sets and will fail to activate if this is not possible. Pharaoh Invocation no longer bypasses the cooldown of socketed skills. Flame Breath now has energy gain penalty, similar to Incinerate. Fortifying Cry now only consumes 1 stack when you detonate a shield wall to create a shockwave around each shield wall segment. Fortifying Cry shockwaves now form a single shield wall, cannot hit the same enemy multiple times. Shield Wave now deals 5 to 7 added physical damage per 15 armor on shield, previously 6 to 8. All right. Fragmentation rounds. Quality now grants 0 to 2 fragments per shot, previously 0 to 20% more physical damage. Freezing Salvo now has 34 to 68% more magnitude of chill inflicted and more freeze buildup at gem levels 3 to 20, previously 56 to 107%. Gathering Storm now causes perfectly timed dash to explode any Tempest spell on hit, creating a massive shockwave that deals 564 to 869% attack damage at gem levels 13 to 20. That is massive. Shocked Ground is left in the wake of the Tempest shockwave, previously on Perfect Dash, with a radius of 3.2 meters. Okay. Turning precise timing into a devastating area clearing combo. Perfect timing shockwaves can now only hit enemies once per skill use and no longer interact with objects created by non-Tempest spell skills. Shockwave limit is now 50. Quality now grants 0 to 20% longer perfect timing window. Previously 0 to 8 maximum shockwaves per use. This is going to be huge here, right? This is going to be a big one. Pay attention to this. Ghost Stance. The interval between gaining Ghost Shrouds is no longer a duration. It now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate also apply to, It now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate also apply to Ghost Shroud gain frequency. It also now has when hit, lose a Ghost Shroud and regenerate energy shield equal to 2% of your evasion rating per second if you have lost a Ghost Shroud recently. Now gains a Ghost Shroud every 11.7 to 10.1 seconds at gem levels 4 to 20, previously 7.6 to 6.1. Oh, man, all right. Not as good, right? Grim Feast. Grim Resurrection now has a 1-second cooldown. Ice Shards no longer have 25% more freeze buildup. Ice Strike. Quality now grants 0 to 20% increased attack speed, previously 0 to 10% more attack speed. Lightning Arrow, multiple lightning beams are no longer able to chain onto the same target. Lunar Blessing triggered moonbeams are no longer considered melee skills. Magma Barrier now deals 5 to 7 added fire damage per 15 armor and evasion on shield, previously 6 to 8. Mirage Archer and Mirage Deadeye can now be used with channeled skills, including Snipe, Plasma Blast, and Detonating Arrow. Mirror of Refraction, granted by Etziri's Rule unique staff, now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate, also apply to mirror appearance frequency. Oil Barrage, mana cost has been reduced by 18%. Empowered Oil Barrage now has a mana cost per second equivalent to the initial mana cost of Oil Barrage. Oil Barrage now deals 10% more damage at all levels, while Empowered Oil Barrage now deals 10% less damage at all levels. Empowered Oil Barrage now consumes a power charge every 1.5 seconds to continue channeling, previously every 2 seconds. Parry. Area of effect has been changed to more closely match its animation, no longer has bonus attack distance. Poison Burst Arrow. Poison duration is now 3 seconds at all gem levels, previously 3 to 4.9 seconds at gem levels 1 to 20. Quality now grants 0 to 10% more magnitude of poison inflicted, previously 0 to 20%. Taking a reduction here. Pounce now has a cooldown of 6 to 5.1 seconds at gem levels 3 to 20, previously 4 to 9.4 seconds at gem levels 3 to 20. Ravenous Swarm now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate, also apply to swarm spawning frequency. Rend fixed a bug where lightning charged Rend was scaling twice with levels. The base damage has been increased to compensate. Lightning Charge Rend now deals 130 to 405% attack damage at levels 1 to 20, previously 120 to 586%. Resonating Shield now deals 5 to 7 added physical damage per 15 armor on shield, previously 6 to 8. Rolling Magma now chains 3 times at gem level 1, previously 2. Scaling up to chaining 5 times at gem level 20, previously 4. Rolling Slam now has +1 second to total attack time, previously +1.5 seconds. The first slam now deals 75 to 272% of attack damage at gem levels 1 to 20, previously 90 to 367. And the second slam now deals 150 to 543% of attack damage at gem levels 1 to 20, previously 180 to 735%. Damn. Shattering Spite, granted by Etziri's Concept unique Spear, now has 50% less magnitude of damaging ailments you inflict. No longer has life leech from explosions, with at least 15 bloodstone lances is instant. Shield Wall now deals 5 to 7 added physical damage per 15 armor on shield, previously 6 to 8. Shred. Quality now grants 0 to 20% increased attack speed, previously 0 to 10% more attack speed. Snipe now deals 121 to 312% of attack damage at gem levels 3 to 20, previously 133 to 343%. That is a reduction. And Explosion now deals 484 to 1,449% of attack damage at gems level 3 to 20, previously 454 and 1358%. So that is an increase. All right, that's okay. We can increase it a little. Icy Blast now deals 764% to 3,067% of attack damage at gem levels 3 to 20, previously 913 to 3,062%. And now has 33 to 50% more damage with hits for explosions originating from a unique enemy at gem levels 3 to 20, previously always 50%. Icy blast explosions radius is now 3 meters, previously 3.2. Spell totem can now be used while moving and has received an updated animation. Supercharged slam now more clearly states that it has a fixed attack time that cannot be modified. This is purely a description change. Chain Beast, Summon Beast now deal 40% more damage at gem level 9, scaling up to 84% at gem level 20. Now immediately summons newly tamed beasts if you have enough spirit. Tempest Bell can now be ancestrally boosted as though it were a strike skill, and its maximum number of active bells has been increased to 3, previously 1. See, Tempest Bell is getting some work done. Greatly improving its combo potential, its Shockwave now deals 45 to 119% of attack damage at gem levels 3 to 20, previously 60 to 132%, and can trigger once every 0.3 seconds instead of 0.25 seconds. Toxic Growth now fires 5 pustules, previously 4, with a limit of 5 pustules, previously 12. Quality grants fires 0 to 1 pustule and limit plus 0 to 1 pustule, previously plus 0 to 2 and plus 0 to 2. Wait, what? Thrashing Vines updated description to clarify how frequently the vines spawn. No functional change. Time of need. The intervals between blessings is no longer a duration. It is now now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate also apply to blessing frequency, and the interval has been reduced to 9.3 to 8.1 seconds at gem levels 8 to 20, previously 11.3 to 10.1. Volcano now has a base critical hit chance of 8%, previously 5%. Whirling Assault quality now grants 0 to 20% increased attack speed, previously 0 to 15% more attack speed. And Wing Blast Shockwave now deals 25% more damage at all levels. So, that is a lot to work through. They were not kidding when they said that this was a massive update. Here we are sitting at an hour and 41 seconds of this video, and we are what looks to be like halfway through. So, I mean, we're just going to keep on plugging along, but I mean, this is crazy. This is like, and what kills me too, right? So Diablo 4, they made you buy the expansion again, right? Just to kill Mephisto, which we already had bought the expansion thinking that's what we were going to do the first time they expanded it. No. So now we got this free game, free to play. Look at all this stuff that they're adding to the game, and it's still not all the way out yet, right? This game is 10 times, just in my opinion, what more is better designed than Diablo. It's just, and it's sad to me because I love Diablo so much, but this game is my game. This is just perfect for me. So we're gonna do support changes. I'm gonna give me a little sip here. And we're gonna continue. So support changes. Unleash, Expand, Salvo, and Freezing Salvo supports all now use the same concept of seals instead of each having their own version. This means standardized rules for seals that will be consistent for all cases, resulting in the same behavior changes. Supports granting seals now consistently all have the seal category. Freezing Salvo and Salvo support previously had an extra restriction that the relevant skill could not gain seals while you were performing that skill. This is no longer the case, bringing them into consistency with the other seal mechanics. Salvo support previously gave a seal every 2 seconds up to a maximum of 3 and provided 2 projectiles per seal. It now gains a seal every 1 second up to a maximum of 6, providing 1 projectile per seal. Advancing Storm can now support any storm skill under any condition rather than only spells you use yourself. Advancing Storm can now support any storm skill under any condition. Okay, so I guess it's for your minions or anybody, I guess, really. Argent Metal now grants 25% chance to load a bolt into a crossbow skill on dealing a killing blow, and supported skills previously 100%. At series, Impatience can no longer support persistent skills. Batar's Vengeance, when you freeze a target with supported skills for each 2 rage you have, you and allies in your presence gain 1% of damage as cold damage for 15 seconds. Previously, for each 1 rage you have for 20 seconds. Okay. Brink can now be cut as a level 1 support gem. It used to be only level 2. Culmination 2 no longer has combo count loss for supported skills, occurs 50% slower. It now has supported skills lose combo if you generate no combo for 6 seconds, previously 4 seconds. Supported skills can now gain up to 10 combos, previously 20, and supported skills now deal 4% more damage per combo, previously 2%. Corrupting Cry 1 and 2 no longer cause the supported skill to inflict corrupted blood, but instead it triggers a skill which inflicts corrupted blood, scaled by the level of the gem it is socketed into. Decaying Hex no longer causes the supported curse to inflict decay. Instead, it triggers a skill which inflicts decay, scaled by the level of the gem it is socketed into. Dahlia's Desire now grants plus 5% to quality of supported skills, previously 10%. Dodre Undoing no longer causes cursed ground creating by supported skills to become hazardous. It now causes cursed ground created by supported skills to spawn witch toads on an interval which seek out enemies and explode, dealing chaos damage. For those who have played Heroes of the Storm, this is a Nazebo skill that I will be using. Infernal Legion 1 now grants minions from supported skills take 10% of their maximum life as fire damage per second, previously 20%, and minions from supported skills ignite enemies within a radius of 1.5 meters as though dealing base fire damage and equal to 10% of minion maximum life, previously 20%. So I'm going to need to watch these again. Like, I'm going to have to read through them to check what this means for my minion build, because right now I have a minion build that I'm starting League with, and I just want to make sure that we ain't fucked from what I've been experiencing, right? Infernal Legion 2 now grants minions from supported skills take 10% of their maximum life as fire damage per second, previously 20. The minions from supported skills ignite enemies within a radius of 2 meters as though dealing base fire damage equal to 10% of the minion's maximum life, previously 20. Now additionally grants minions from supported skills have plus 20% to fire resistance. Infernal Legion 3 can no longer be obtained. Living Lightning no longer replaces minions when summoning a new one while already at maximum number of minions. Morgana's Tempest can now support any storm skill under any condition rather than only spells you use yourself. Overabundance 3 now properly describes that it cannot support persistent skills. Overextend no longer can be obtained. Existing items are unaffected by this change. Paquette's Pact no longer causes the supported skill to inflict corrupted blood, but instead it triggers a skill which inflicts corrupted blood. Scaled by the level of the gem it is socketed into. No longer has lose 2% of maximum life per corrupted blood inflicted by supported skills. Instead, it now has supported skills cost 10% of maximum life for each time they've been used recently, up to a maximum of 30%. Rage 1, 2, and 3 can now support minion skills. Ratha's Assault now grants supported skills load 4 bolts when you dodge, previously 5, and supported skills load 3 additional bolts, previously 4. It now also grants supported skills have 10% increased attack speed, previously 20%. Refaction now additionally causes supported banner skills to grant allies deflection rating equal to 15% of their evasion, and same thing, but now 20% of their evasion for Refraction 2. Shock Conduction 2 can no longer be obtained. Static Shocks updated description to clarify that it triggers from shocking hits. Uhtred's Augury now grants +2 to level of supported skills if exactly 2 other supports are modifying them, previously +3 to supported skill to levels of supported skills. Uhtred's Omen now grants +2 to levels supported skill to Uhtred's Omen now grants +2 to level of supported skills if exactly 1 other support is modifying them, previously +3. Bolt now grants supported skills gain 2 voltaic charges per meter traveled, previously 3. Supported skills now also gain 1% of damage as extra lightning damage per voltaic charge consumed, previously 5% per 10 voltaic charge. Unique item changes. All right. The Ab Eterno unique boots no longer grant 10% less movement and skill speed per dodge roll in the past 20 seconds, and now have 200% to 250% increased armor, evasion, and energy shield. Previously 100 to 150%. It now has your speed is unaffected by slows while sprinting, and gain encumbrance for 4 seconds when you dodge roll. Existing versions of this unique can be updated to the new armor, evasion, and energy shield values using a divine orb, but will no longer receive any other changes. The Apep's Supremacy unique focus no longer has 30 to 50% faster start of energy shield recharge. The Etziri's Acuity unique gloves have been reworked. They now grant 150 to 200% increased armor, plus 100 to 150 to maximum life, leech 10% of physical attack damage as life, and 10% of physical damage dealt by your hits causes blood loss and Vaal Pact. They also grant the Herald of the Royal Queen skill. Vaal Cultivation Orb outcomes of its Etziri Acuity have also changed. Existing items are not affected by this change. The Syrian Inheritance unique body armor now grants 15 to 30% increased energy shield recharge rate instead of 30 to 50% faster start of energy shield recharge. The Black Flame unique ring no longer has enemies ignited by you take chaos damage instead of fire damage from ignite, and now has Withered you inflict also increases fire damage. Ignite you inflict deals chaos damage instead of fire damage, and Withered does not expire on enemies ignited by you. Additionally, it now has 80 to 100% increased ignite magnitude. This sounds really good. Additionally, it now has 80 to 100% increased ignite magnitude, previously 50%, and 60 to 75% reduced ignite duration on enemies, previously 50%. Ignite magnitude and duration modifiers can be updated to the new value using a divine orb. Other modifiers will remain unchanged. The Blistering Bond unique ring now has fire damage, also contributes to bleeding magnitude, and bleeding you inflict deals fire damage instead of physical damage. In addition to its other modifiers, existing items are not affected by this change. The Brass Dome unique body armor now has 500 to 600% increased armor. Previously 700 to 800%. Existing versions of this unique can be made worse with a Divine Orb. The Carnage Heart unique amulet now has 25 to 50% increased damage while leeching. Existing items are unaffected by this change. The Chobber unique mace now has a +2 to 3 to level of all minion skills. Hello. Existing items are not affected by this change. The Death's Harp unique bow no longer has bow attacks, fires 3 additional arrows. Instead, it now has +250 to +330, surpassing chance to fire an additional arrow. The Elevor unique helmet now grants charms, gain 1 charge per second, previously 0.5, and now provides +1 to 2 charm slots, previously +1. Existing items can be buffed using a Divine Orb. The Estra's Path unique ring no longer has cold resistance and unaffected area penalties, or by an area penalty. It now has +5 to 10% to fire and cold resistance per equipped item with a lightning resistance modifier. Existing items are not affected by this change. Interesting item. The Glowswarm unique ring now has using a mana flask grants guard equal to 100% of the flask's recovery amount for 4 seconds. Existing items are not affected by this change. The Hallow Mask unique helmet now grants the Wildwood's gift skill, where Ezomyte spirits offer guidance, allowing you to see nearby ancient blooms. This is the one that they showcased. It also now has remnants you create affect allies in your presence, as well as when you collect, and 80 to 100% increased reservation efficiency of remnant skills. The Husk of Dreams unique body armor has been renamed to Revere. It no longer has 20 to 30% increased flash charges gained or 50% less flash charges used. It now grants the Rite of Restoration skill and has non-unique life flasks apply their effects constantly. It also now cannot use life flasks. Recovery from life flasks cannot be instant. Recovery from life flasks cannot be applied to anything other than you, as well as 40 to 60% less life flask recovery. Existing versions of this item cannot be obtained. Existing versions of this item cannot obtain these new modifiers. Okay. The Hyri's Ire unique body armor now has 100 to 150% increased evasion rating, previously 200 to 250%, and gains 10 to 20% damage as extra cold damage, previously 15 to 25%. Existing versions of this can be made worse with a Divine Orb. Okay. The Keeper of the Ark unique helmet now has 240 to 340% increased armor and energy shield, previously 150 to 250. Existing items can be updated to the new values using a Divine Orb. The Levinstone unique ring no longer has +1 to level of all lightning skills. It now has lightning skills chain +1 times. The Megalomaniac unique jewel now drops identified. The Plague Finger unique gloves now cannot inflict elemental ailments. The Prized Pain unique ring no longer has deal your thorns damage to enemies you stun with melee attacks. It now has 15 to 25% chance to deal your thorns damage to enemies you hit with melee attacks. Existing items are not affected by this change. The Radiant Grief unique helmet now has enemies in your presence are ignited as though dealt 200 base fire damage, previously 100. Existing items can be updated to the new value with a Divine Orb. The Saffron's Resolve unique ring no longer has lightning resistance, is unaffected by area penalties, and now has 5 to 10% to cold and lightning resistance per equipped item with a fire resistance modifier. Existing items are not affected by this change. The Seed of Cataclysm unique ring no longer has 30 to 50% increased critical spell damage bonus. It now has 5% reduced critical spell damage bonus per critical hit you've dealt with spells recently, and 15 to 30% chance for spell damage with critical hits to be lucky. Existing items are not affected by this change. The Sekima's Resolve unique rings have been renamed to Saffron's Resolve, Zeta's Longevity, and Estra's Path. The Sign Equeo unique gloves now have 150 to 200% increased armor, evasion, and energy shield, previously 100 to 150. It no longer has enemies immobilized by you take 20% more damage, and now instead has 30 to 50% increased damage against immobilized enemies. All right, that's good. The Soul Mantle unique body armor no longer has 20 to 30% reduced totem life. It instead now has 75 plus 75 to spirit. Wait a minute. The Soul Mantle unique body? Plus 75 to spirit. Existing versions of this item are not affected by this change. The Svalin unique shields cast on block skill now has supported skills cost nothing. It also now has plus 50 to 100 runic ward. Existing items are not affected by this change. The Zeta's longevity unique ring no longer has lightning resistance, is unaffected by area penalties. It now has plus 5 to 10% to fire and lightning resistance per equipped item with a cold resistance modifier. Existing items are not affected by this change. The Zephyr's Genesis unique belt no longer has 10 to 30% increased charm charges. It now has 50% of charges consumed by used life flasks are granted to your charms. Skills from corrupted gems have 15 to 25% increased cost efficiency during any flask effect, and 25 to 50% increased corrupted charms effect duration, in addition to its other modifiers. Ooh, item changes loud. Jesus. Man. Y'all really cooked on this one, didn't you? All right. Item changes. Greater imperfect currencies have been made somewhat rarer, with transmutation and augmentation being made significantly rarer. Greater orbs of transmutation and greater orbs of augmentation now have a minimum modifier level of 44, previously 55, making them more accessible. They can now begin dropping in Act 4. Divine orbs are now more common. Why? The corruption outcome that randomizes the numeric values of the modifiers on an item beyond the normal range now multiplies each modifier based on the current value instead of randomizing the value. Sanctifying an item now multiplies each modifier value based on the current value instead of randomizing values. Omen of the Corruption can no longer be obtained. Martial weapons and flasks found in the campaign are now more likely to be of the highest base type available at that level. Good change. The overall number of essences found in the campaign has been increased, though the proportion of these being essences of the infinite has been significantly decreased. This will lead to finding more useful essences as you progress. The amount of armor granted by items and modifiers has been increased as you get to higher levels. At level 65, you should have approximately 33% more armor, tapering down to 15% at level 80 plus. The amount of evasion granted by items and modifiers has been increased as you get to higher levels. At level 65, you should have approximately 33% more evasion, tapering down to 15% at level 80 plus. Similar to amount of energy shield granted by items is now roughly 8% more at level 65 and unchanged at 80 plus. The Vaal Robe armor base type now has 171 base energy shield, previously 184. The base armor of existing items will be automatically adjusted, while armor modifiers on existing items can be updated with a divine orb. Increased the base weapon range of some martial weapon base types. One-handed maces now have a base weapon range of 1.3, previously 1.1, 1.5 for two-handed maces, previously 1.3, and 1.4 for quarterstaffs, previously 1.3. The obliterator bow and artillery bow base types now have 1.1 attacks per second, previously 1.15. The implicit modifier for Warden and Guardian bows now provides 25 to 35% chance to chain an additional time, previously 20 to 30%. Existing items can be updated with a Divine Orb. The implicit modifier for Rabid, Fury, and Magi talismans now provides plus 7 to 10 maximum range, previously plus 8 to 12. Existing items can be updated with Divine Orb. The implicit modifier for Volt Fang and Thunder talismans now provide 20 to 30% increased magnitude of shock you inflict, previously 15 to 25%. All of these can be adjusted with the Divine Orb, and alternate quality items from Breach Catalyst may now be salvaged to return a portion of the catalyst used. The +2 level of all melee skill modifiers on two-handed attack weapons now has a value of +5 at tier 1, previously +7. The lower tiers have also been adjusted. The +2 level of all projectile skills, same thing. The +2 level of all melee skills, same thing, except it was a value of +4 at tier 1, or it was a value of +5, now it's a value of +4. Plus level of all projectiles, same thing. The +2 to level of projectile skills modifiers on quivers now has a value of +1. The +2 level all gems on attack weapons can now only roll above level 18. Added surpassing chance to fire an additional arrow modifiers for quivers. The perfect essence of battle now provides +3 levels of all attack skills on two-handed melee weapons or crossbows, previously +5, and +2 to level of all attack skills on one-handed melee weapons or bows, previously +3. Essence of Hysteria now grants 20 to 30% increased energy shield recharge rate when applied to Fosse. Body runes now grant +30, 45, 60 maximum life when socketed in armor items, previously +30, +20, 30, and 40, +30, 40, and 50. Maximum energy shield when socketed in staves and wands, previously +25, 30, 35, and grants leech 3, 4, and 5% of physical damage as life when socketed in martial weapons, previously 2, 2.5, and 3. So buffed all of that. Mind runes now grant 20, +20, 30, or 40 maximum mana when socketed in armor items, previously +15, 25, 35, and respectively +45, +60, and 75 max mana when socketed in staves, wands, and grants leech 2, 3, and 4%. So this is again buffing those. Rebirth runes now gain 15, 25, and 35 life per enemy killed when socketed in a martial weapon. Another buff. And now grants regenerate to 0.35, 0.4, and 0.45 of maximum life per second when socketed in armor weapons. Inspiration runes now gain 10, 20, 30, previously 8, 16. So they've increased all of these runes. Yeah, they've buffed all of the runes. Storm rune, robust rune, same thing here. Adept rune got a buff. Resolve rune got a buff. Standard rune bonded modifiers now grant 20 life and 20 mana. That got a buff. Lesser rebirth runes now grant 4%. Previously 12. That's a debuff. let's see here. Lesser Rebirth runes now grant 4% increase energy shield recharge rate when socketed in a Wander staff, previously 12%. This change applies to existing items. It grants 6%. So this is, again, probably dealing with the Runic Ward, right? So they're trying to lower our shield and other forms of regen, because they're going to be using that Runic Ward as part of the makeup for that. So shields, greater rebirth runes now grant 8% increase instead of 18%. Carcian's rune of recovery now grants 30% increase energy shield instead of 50. Lady Hestra's rune of winter no longer adds 19 to 28 cold damage. Instead, it adds 19 to 28 cold damage against chilled or frozen enemies. Thane's Leld's rune of spring no longer adds 1 to 60 lightning damage. Instead, it adds 1 to 60 lightning damage against shocked enemies. Same thing for Thane Mirk's rune. It doesn't add the 23 to 34 base fire damage. Instead, it adds 23 to 34 fire damage to those that have already been ignited. All idols can now also be socketed into scepters. Idol of Egrin now grants 20% increased curse duration when socketed into a scepter. Idol of Estra now grants 15% increased cost efficiency when socketed into a helmet, previously 12%. It now grants 30% increased mana recovery rate while your companion is in your presence when socketed into a scepter. Idol of Gold now is socketed into boots. It now grants 50% increased total power counted by war cries, previously 20%. Now grants 15% increased damage for each different companion in your presence when socketed into a scepter. The bonded modifier now grants 30% increased glory generation, previously 20%. Idol of Maxarius now grants 0.2 flash charges per second when socketed into a scepter. Idol of Ralakesh now grants 40% increased armor, evasion, and energy shield while your companion is in your presence when socketed into a scepter. Idol of Sirius now grants allies in your presence have 8% increased movement speed when socketed into a scepter. The bonded modifier now grants 20% reduced slowed potency, previously 15%. Idol of Thoroldana now grants allies in your presence deal 13 to 27 added attack chaos damage when socketed into a scepter. Bear Idol now grants 10% increased area of effect when socketed in helmets, previously 8%. Bonded modifier now grants 12% increased reservation efficiency of companion skills when socketed in helmets, previously 10%. Boar Idol now grants allies in your presence regenerate 0.5% of their maximum life per second when socketed into scepters. Previously, allies in your presence regenerated 8 life per second. The bonded modifier now grants 25% increased war cry cooldown recovery rate when socketed into gloves, previously 15%. Cat Idol now grants 25% increased accuracy rating when socketed in gloves, previously 15%. The bonded modifier grants 30% increased charm charges gained when socketed in gloves, previously 20%. Fox Idol now has a limit of 1. It now grants other socketed idols in this item also grant their bonded modifiers when socketed in body armors, previously plus 2% to quality of all skills. The bonded modifier now grants plus 5% to quality of all skills when socketed in body armors, previously plus 4 to all attributes. Owl Idol now grants 12% increased cooldown recovery rate when socketed in Fauci. Fuck a Fauci, you know what I'm saying? And allies in your presence have 10% increased cast speed when socketed in scepters, previously 8%. The bonded modifier now grants 20% increased effective Archon buffs on you when socketed in Fauci, previously 15%. Ox Idol now grants 15% increased block chance when socketed in shields and bucklers, previously 10%. And allies in your presence have 12% to all elemental resistances when socketed in scepters, previously 8%. And bonded modifier now grants 15% chance for damage of enemies hitting you to be unlucky when socketed in shields and bucklers. Primate Idol now the Primate Idol now grants minions have 15% increased maximum life when socketed in a helmet, previously 12%, and allies in your presence deal 40% increased damage. So they've pretty much buffed all of these idols. And then this bonded modifier now grants remnants can be collected from 15% further away when socketed. So you got to get closer to them. Rabbit Idol now has a limit of 1. It grants 12% increased rarity of items when socketed in body armors, previously 5%, and 15% increased spirit when socketed in scepters, previously 10%. The bonded modifier now grants 10% increased quantity of gold dropped by slain enemies when socketed in body armors, previously 5%. Snake Idol now grants 8% increased curse magnitude when socketed into gloves, previously 5%. And allies in your presence have 10% increased attack speed when socketed into a scepter, previously 8%. The bonded modifier now grants remnants have 15% increased effect when socketed into gloves, previously 10%. Snake Idol grants increased curse magnitude into gloves. Allies in your presence have 10% increased attack speed. 15% increased effect when socketed in gloves, previously 10%. Stag Idol has a limit of 1. It now grants projectiles have 15% chance to fork when socketed in helmets, previously 50% increased thorns critical hit chance. The bonded modifier for helmets now grants 30% chance for an additional projectile when forking. Previously, thorns damage had 40% chance to ignore enemy armor. This will be an interesting thing here. Gives you more idols. Wolf Idol now grants a 15% increased magnitude of bleeding when you inflict bleeding you inflict when socketed into gloves, previously 10%, and allies in your presence have 20% increased critical damage bonus when socketed into scepters. The bonded modifier now grants 25% reduced magnitude of bleeding on you when socketed into gloves. Atmo's Soul Core of Retreat no longer grants 30% faster start of energy shield recharge when socketed into a body armor or focus. Instead, it now grants gain additional ailment threshold equal to 15% of equal maximum energy shield, and gain additional stun threshold equal to 15% of maximum energy shield. This change applies to existing items. Maximum rage on ruby jewels can now roll between 1 to 2 maximum rage, previously +1. Existing items can possibly be updated to the new value with a divine orb. Increased chaos damage on sapphire jewels can now roll between 7 and 13%, previously between 6 and 12. You can update it with the divine orb. Suffix modifiers granting faster start of energy shield recharge can no longer roll on Fauci. Intelligence body armors or jewels. Increased energy shield recharge rate suffix modifiers can now roll on intelligence body armors. The implicit modifier on the arcane raiment and sacramental robe body armors is now 15 to 25% increased energy shield recharge rate instead of 40 to 50%. Again, debuffing the shields. The fevered prefix modifier can no longer roll on time lost sapphire and sapphire jewels. The of diffusion or of dispersal and of enlivening suffix modifiers can no longer roll on body armors and Fauci. The of buffering suffix modifier now grants 12 to 15% energy shield recharge rate, previously 36 to 40%. You can use a divine orb to change this. The of Arduar suffix modifier now grants 16 to 19% increased energy shield recharge rate, previously 41 to 45. Again, debuff. Of suffix modifier now grants 20 to 23% increase recharge rate. Again, cutting it basically in half. Cast speed modifiers on rings and amulets are no longer shared with Fauci and wands. For rings and amulets, these modifiers now roll at significantly higher levels, the highest tier cast speed modifier for rings now rolls at level 60 and at level 66 for amulets. The maximum values of these modifiers are unchanged. Increased banner area of effect modifiers on jewels now have values of 6 to 16%, previously 10 to 20%. Existing items can be then updated to the new value with a divine orb. Desecrated modifiers granting instant leech can no longer roll. Existing items will not be affected by this change. The Squire's hybrid physical damage and accuracy modifier on weapons now has a minimum level of 8. Previously, one existing item will have their level requirement changed. The Journeyman's hybrid physical damage and accuracy modifier on weapons now has a minimum level of 14, previously 11. Existing items will have their level requirements changed. The precise accuracy modifier on weapons now has a minimum level of 8, previously 1. Existing items will have their level requirement changed. Reliable accuracy modifier has a minimum level of 13, previously 11. The gladiatorial helm base type has been renamed to Cassie's helm. Oswald no longer undercuts you for the priceless idols found in Act 3, now offering you 3,000, 4,000, and 6,000 gold for each. Previously 500, 1,000, and 1,500. Yeah, dude. What a fucking bitch. The gold price of weapons for asynchronous trade have been increased by approximately 50%. The desecrated map modifier of Union. Wait, 50. The gold price for weapons. The desecrated map modifier of Union is no longer functional. This was a legacy modifier that only existed in the early access leagues. Okay. Monster changes. The culling strike threshold for normal enemies is now 35% of the maximum life, previously 30. Monster leech resistance now starts at a later level, and values are lower at every level. All monster rarities now have the same amount of leech resistance. Essence monster packs are now affected by modifiers to pack size. Asmiri spirits that are released from monsters now retain their power and empower other spirits released from other monsters. The beam from the Priest of the Sun will no longer ignore some walls. You will now refill some flash charges when Viper Napatsuri soldiers constrict the size of her area, her arena. The Burning Dead in Ogum Village now deal a portion of their damage as fire, previously purely physical. Improved the visuals and telegraphing of the Lightning Doriani's elite monster. Quest changes. You can no longer enter Plunder's Point until you have turned in all 4 map pieces in King's March. You now receive a, I thought that was already a thing. You now receive a greater mind rune in the Halls of the Dead when interacting with Nabali, previously a lesser mind rune. You no longer need to visit the Halani Gates in order to access Trader's Passage if you have already freed Rizu. Thank you, God. That was annoying. User interface changes, added accessibility settings to increase the size of pop-ups. These can be found in the UI section. Added the dedicated key bindings to perform a dodge roll, which will not cause the player to sprint when held down. Wait. Okay, added a dedicated keybind to perform a dodge roll, which will not cause the player to sprint when held down. Okay. Added a show-only available option to the hideout decorations list when using a mouse or keyboard for players using click and move. Clicking and moving while channeling a skill that can be used while moving can no longer interrupt channeling. This should significantly improve the usability of skills such as Flame Breath and Incinerate on click to move. Improve visual clarity, load times, and performance on the Acts 1 through 3 world map. Additionally, they have been made to move accurately reflect the in-game directionality of area layouts. Skill information pop-outs no longer move modified stats to the top of the panel. They are still shown in blue. I mean, so these are just a bunch of changes that they did to the user interface. You can now set favored trades on the currency exchange when using mouse and keyboard. You can now pin a tracking scroll to your social profile to display your friends, guild, and party members. You can now preview microtransactions, weapon skins in the cosmetics shop without needing the applicable weapon type. Added a top-down camera view for editing your hideout. That could be good when using a controller. Feature to quickly change currency you are currently applying when applying with the controller. Okay, so they did some controller changes. Good for you. Good for you. Microtransaction changes. I mean, you guys can see these in the in the store, right? I feel like, and then they got a bunch of bug fixes. That's all great. We're not going to go through all of these, but I mean, wow. Wow, 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 wow. So damn, yeah, that's a lot to unpack. We're gonna be live on Twitch going through our league start build, and taking a look at some of these uniques that have changed, some of the new maps, trying to figure out which mechanics I'm gonna run. Obviously, we're gonna do the league mechanic, but I'm also gonna be doing some of the breach stuff, and the what they did to rituals also looks pretty cool. So tune in for that. Long video, I know. I'll just go ahead and leave some links down in the description. Like and subscribe. We'll be on Twitch for the foreseeable future playing this game. So look forward to meeting and seeing some of y'all there. That's at twitch.tv, the Exile Joker. And yeah, this is looking pretty good. I'm looking forward to the new league. Let's go.